right, so we have a lot of updates in the Diddy trial. We are finally getting into some good testimony about how the prosecution is actually going to make it to their claims of the RICO charge against Diddy in this case. If you guys were here on the last live stream, I had some concerns about whether we could get there with the allegations that they are making. It almost seems like a lot of it is about Cassie and her relationship with Diddy versus the actual charges that are being brought against him. So just to remind everybody, Diddy is currently on a federal trial for a RICO charge, basically racketeering, creating some type of business enterprise to further his crimes. And he is also on trial for sex trafficking multiple victims, Cassie and another woman who we do not necessarily know the identity of, sex trafficking them personally. And then he's also being charged with trafficking or transporting with the intent of engaging in prostitution. So again, that applies to both of the ladies, and that one also applies to male escorts, which we have actually heard from a couple of the male dancers / escorts that they are bringing up here. So we didn't go over the first escort. We're going to talk about the second, or I guess he is an exotic dancer, but he performed some escort-like activities with Cassie for Diddy. And so we're going to get into his testimony. We're going to finish up Cassie's testimony. We got testimony from Cassie's mom. We got Kid Cudi that testified today. And we also have some of the people that help gather the information for the investigation. Now, they're the ones that's introducing all of this evidence. And I have to be honest with you guys that I don't know if it really relates. Like, I kind of feel like some of the evidence that they are bringing out, and I'll let y'all know when we get there, but I kind of feel like a lot of the evidence that they're bringing out is almost low-key to embarrass Diddy, because I honestly don't know how they're going to tie it together. So y'all let me know as we go through the timeline of the trial. Let me know how you think that the evidence is going to apply in this case. But right now, I really don't know how we're going to get there. If you guys are just joining me live, I am on YouTube and on TikTok talking about the Diddy case. So if I missed some comments on TikTok, I'm sorry about that. And for the people watching on YouTube, make sure you guys are dropping your thoughts in the chat, because I can pull your chats up on the screen. So let's jump right into, we're going all the way back, okay, y'all? We're going all the way back to day 5. We're talking about the end of Cassie's testimony and what was kind of like the overall point of where she went towards the end of her testimony. So first, we got Cassie's physical abuse allegations. Cassie said some of her arguments with Diddy became violent. He would smash me in the head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stump me in the head if I was down, she said during the first day on the stand. That was on the first day of the stand. Ventura said that she suffered wounds and other medical issues from freak-offs and from Combs' assaults, and the jury saw some of them in real-time photos. So she was taking photos. Those were presented to the jury along with some other photos that we're going to talk about. She also goes into the early part of their relationship. Diddy proposed that they do freak-offs in which he would watch Ventura, which is Cassie, have intercourse with another man while he pleasured himself in a form of sexual voyeurism. I don't know if I'm saying that right. She testified that the first day, she said, sorry, y'all, I'm messing up my notes here. Some of the escorts participated in multiple states, according to Cassie. During cross-examination, the defense showed messages between Diddy and Cassie in which she expressed both hesitancy and enjoyment with the performances. And she basically said, I like it when we both want to do it. Like, I don't want to be forced into the situation and engaging in freak-offs when I'm not in the mood. Why do we have to always do it basically on your dime? We're going to talk about it a little bit more, but Cassie basically felt like this was a second job for her, which some of her testimony got struck. So we're going to talk about it when we get there. I didn't realize that these notes, I just brought up these notes and forgot that they go all the way back to day 1. So bear with me as I try to get through my notes, and then we'll get on to the more recent witnesses. But yeah, let me know what y'all thoughts are on this case so far. For me, I kind of feel like it's hard to keep up with because it is all reading, okay? And, people got jobs. We got things to keep up with. But luckily, y'all have me that's willing to go and look at the things and bring them to you so that we can talk about it here on YouTube, here on TikTok, about what's going on with the case. Let's get back into Cassie's testimony, what we got from it. The central evidence in the trial includes the surveillance video showing Combs, Diddy beating and kicking Cassie in a Los Angeles hotel in 2016. Remember, that is the video that was leaked. What was that, a couple of months ago? I mean, almost a year ago, of him saying, oh, I never abused her. I just settled with her because, I didn't want this to go any further. I didn't actually abuse her. And then the video was leaked, okay? Then they showed us the video and there was really no denying it. And then he had to come back and apologize. He had to come back and apologize to the people, okay? So the attack came after she attempted, this is what Cassie is saying, that attack happened after she attempted to leave a freak off before it was finished. The jury saw messages that Cassie sent to Diddy 5 days after the assault, describing the abuse and his state of mind. She said, when you get up, okay, when you get effed up the wrong way, you always want to show that you have power and you knock me around. I'm not a rag doll. I'm someone's child. She wrote in a message that was read aloud to the court. So we got to hear it coming from her, or we didn't get to hear it. The people in the courtroom got to hear it coming from her. Cassie said she made a demand for compensation from the Intercontinental Hotel and expects to receive $10 million. Now, if you guys are here during the live stream last week, we talked about the initial settlement that Cassie had with Diddy on the 2023 lawsuit that she filed against him, basically claiming that he abused her and she suffered emotional harm from the abuse that he caused her. So we were shocked that she settled for $20 million there because she originally asked for $10 million. This new information came out on day 5 that she also was in the process of negotiating with the Intercontinental, and they've come to a settlement. I don't know if she actually sued them, and if she did sue them, how did that miss the hot headlines? But they're going to give her, or what she assumes is their agreement, is that they're going to give her $10 million. Now, I would like to know what were the allegations against them, because I haven't seen that lawsuit. What were the claims that they were making, and why are they giving $10 million? Because they hung on to that video, because they publicized it without her permission. I would really like to know why they are paying her $10 million. So that's very interesting to me. Then they go on to talk about in August 2018, Cassie went to dinner with Diddy. She thought this was a closure conversation. It's like, if you've broken up, don't go back for closure conversations, because they are not always closure conversations. And she said that they went to Malibu for what she thought was a closure conversation, as she was dating her now husband at the time. Diddy was playful and romantic at the dinner, she recalled, and then he drove her home. On the witness stand, Cassie paused for a long time before speaking next, and then he R-worded me in my living room. The defense challenged her timeline during cross-examination. They basically were like, you don't know when this actually happened. And she was like, no, it actually didn't happen that day. It happened a different time. And she confirmed with the prosecution that she has no doubt that he actually R-worded her. This wasn't a consensual relationship. She's in a relationship with a different person. Now we know what the defense is going to bring up on that is that, oh, well, you were in a relationship with a different person when you were in a relationship with Diddy, but you were still engaging in these freak offs. And basically the prosecution is going to have to argue, well, she changed. She's not doing those kind of things anymore. So they get into the settlement that we just talked about on November 16th, 2023. Cassie filed a lawsuit against Diddy alleging he assaulted her, R-worded her, and sex trafficked her. And Diddy denied any wrongdoing, and the two settled the lawsuit a day later, outside of court, right? He paid her the money. We learned that it was $20 million, but her lawsuit set off a series of civil suits against Diddy alleging wrongdoing in the court on Wednesday. She said the settlement was $20 million, which we talked about on our last live stream. Now, she goes into her drug use and depression. Cassie testified that she took all kinds of drugs provided by Diddy or his staff at the freak-offs as a way of disassociating and numbing herself. Diddy overdosed on painkillers in February 2012 and for a time had an addiction to opiates. Cassie testified to that. In 2003, she was having horrible flashbacks and became suicidal. Cassie also said that she underwent treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder. And she kind of stayed on, or not she kind of stayed on it. Diddy's attorneys kind of stayed on it for a while. And that could have been bad. Okay. It could be bad. It could be, okay, she's a victim and you're basically making her relive the trauma and the treatment that she had to go through from being the victim. Right. So, I don't know if they really got what they needed out of that testimony. But again, like I said in the last live stream, I don't even know if the prosecution is really getting their point across. And definitely let me know whether you think that the prosecution is getting their point across. We are now, 9 days into the trial. This trial is expected to end before the July 4th weekend, right? That's when the judge expects the trial to end. The prosecution and the defense have already said that they're actually ahead of schedule. I think that was like 2 days ago. They said they were ahead of schedule and that they don't want to make the jury stay later. I think the judge is concerned that it may go past the July 4th weekend. So that is what I have on Cassie. We talked about it in the last live stream. The text messages that they kept going back and forth with, they gave Cassie the opportunity to laugh at them on the stand. They were trying to basically prove that she enjoyed it. But I think we all know, I assume that everyone that watches me, we're adults. I think we all know that abuser or the people that are abused, they kind of cope with it. They want to be in the relationship. They want to save the relationship. They want the abuse to stop. And just because she stayed does not mean that she wasn't being abused. My question is, does it actually qualify for racketeering, sex trafficking, and prostitution? I think the prostitution, I think the prosecution has a slam dunk on the prostitution claims. But when we start getting into the trafficking, that's where it kind of gets a little iffy to me. So y'all, again, let me know your thoughts. I could be wrong. This is just my opinions. I know y'all like to hear my opinions. But yeah, I feel like I'm like a lot mellow today because we have a lot to get through. Okay. We're covering like 5 days of the trial in this live stream. And I don't want to have y'all here all night. Dude, tell me why I went through like pretty much almost all of the testimony, right? All of the coverage that happened. It ended up being like 46 pages of notes. I've condensed it down to like 16 pages of notes. So if it's not in order, if it's not the easiest to read, y'all just bear with me because I was up until like 2:00 this morning and then went to work. And now I'm here streaming with y'all. So bear with me as we read through my notes and hopefully we cover all the witnesses. I think I have all the witnesses, but I think they might be a little bit out of order because I was kind of rushing to get my notes condensed before we started the live stream today. So Cassie is off the stand. She can go ahead and have her baby. We then move on to Yasin Binda. I hope I'm saying her name right, but she is a Homeland Security Investigation Special Agent who works in the Human Trafficking Division at the department. She handled the logistics of Diddy arrest on September 16, 2024, and searched the room at the Park Hyatt where Diddy was staying. The jury saw photos of 2 Ziploc bags, each filled with Johnson baby oil and Astroglide, because we already know they found, 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lube. Yeah, that's a lot. But this one is actually the one that searched the room. So this is not even the 1,000 bottles in his house. Okay, this is the hotel room. So he has additional bottles of baby oil and lube in the hotel room, okay? They recovered bags in the entryway closet. More bottles of baby oil and lubricant were found in the bathroom. God dang, Diddy. Oh my gosh. On the nightstand and elsewhere in the room, according to the photos and to Binda's testimony. So they are really focusing on this sexual element in the case, because I mean, it is sex trafficking and prostitution. That's what he's being accused of. But him having a lot of lube, I don't know if that necessarily translates to trafficking. Are y'all making that connection? Or do we have to wait a little bit more to learn? Well, I know Cassie talked about a little bit what they do with the lube and the baby oil, but I don't know if that's going to amount to full-on trafficking and full-on RICO charges. Okay, she goes on to testify a bottle of medication was also found in a Louis Vuitton bag on a nightstand in the bedroom. The name on the bottle was Frank Black, which was a name we're going to learn that he really liked to use. And the label identified the medication as, I should know how to say this, but I don't, clonazepam. The 2 bags of pink powder, which tested positive for ketamine and MDMA, were also recovered. Binda testified it appeared that a woman had been staying with him in a hotel. And they keep alluding to the fact that a woman was probably staying with him in a hotel. We know the man is freaky, okay? We know he's nasty. We know he likes to engage in sexual activity, but simply having women's items in his hotel room and having sexual enhancers in his hotel room, I don't know if that completely translates to exactly what they're trying to prove. Now, I have to be honest with y'all. Every time they bring up there was high heels and there was women's clothes, I'm starting to think, are y'all trying to accuse Diddy of wearing the stuff? Because y'all are not really tying it to a person. And I kind of feel like y'all are trying to insinuate that maybe he likes to dress like a woman. I could be stretching it. I could be tripping. But the way it keeps being brought up in the trial with no connection and no direction, I'm like, are y'all saying that Diddy is wearing the clothes? I know they're not. They're trying to say, oh, he's clearly prostituting people. That's why he brings the lingerie and the heels for the girls to wear. I don't know. Or maybe he has a girlfriend. We don't know. Okay, so we got through Homeland Security. Wasn't really much to her testimony. Then we jump into Don Richards, which we have to give a shout out to the Bree Hive. Let me see if I can find my little round of applause, because y'all called it that Don Richards was going to be testifying. I did not know she was going to be testifying this soon into the trial, like pretty much almost immediately off after Cassie got off the stand. There was one witness and then there was Don. I know you guys are talking about if Aubrey O'Day is going to be able to testify. I don't know if we're going to get Aubrey O'Day, but we already had Don Richard testifying in the trial. So let's see what they had to say, or what my notes have to say about her. So Don Richard is a former member of the Danity Kane, which I really like Danity Kane. And I did watch Making the Band. I did not know they were going through all of the crazy stuff, though. A music group formed by Diddy as part of the MTV reality series, Making the Band. Dawn testified she saw Diddy attack Cassie in 2009. And if y'all have been following the channel, we already covered her lawsuit. Basically, what she talks about in this document is what she talks about in her, not in this document, in the trial, is what she talks about in her lawsuit against him. But in her lawsuit against him, it also adds acts of violence towards her, like Diddy allegedly locking her in a car for hours and threatening the life of her dad. That is not testified to, but the incidences about Cassie are testified to, and it'll just be a reminder because we haven't covered that case in a really, really long time. So let's see. Don said Diddy came into the kitchen where they both were and tried to hit Cassie with a skillet. After the altercation, Combs dragged Cassie by her hair upstairs. Don said she heard glass breaking and yelling. So the defense tried to like trip her up and say, oh, well, your story has changed multiple times since 2009 when this happened. She's like, I haven't even talked about it since 2009. And I'm remembering it to the best of my recollection. You guys are asking me to remember something from 15 years ago, which, yeah, maybe some details might change, like whether Cassie, like they tried to focus on whether Cassie was actually hit or did it, like she avoid the hit. It's like, he still swung a skillet at her, regardless of whether she was actually hit. He still tried to swing a skillet at her. Like, what is his problem? Okay, it's still abuse. Whether he made contact or not, it is still abuse. So let me keep going. After the altercation, they heard the glass breaking and the yelling. Dawn said she didn't report the abuse because she was afraid and was scared to do anything in fear of what that might mean for her. The next day, Dawn said that Diddy asked her and another woman to come to his house, where he told them what they witnessed was passion and what lovers do, and told them it was in their best interest if they didn't say anything. So, mind you, Don Richard at this point is an adult. So the fact that Diddy's coming down and being like, well, this is what adults do, this is what lovers do, you have to understand this, is absolutely ridiculous. To think that he can manipulate them into believing that this is normal behavior. I don't know about y'all, but you don't go around swinging skillets at your partner. Well, you're not supposed to do that, okay? That is abusive. You can't go around swinging skillets at your partner. So let me see where I was at here. Dawn said that she witnessed Diddy's violent behavior. She told Cassie she should leave. Dawn said she did not intervene out of fear for her own safety. Dawn also testified that she didn't immediately talk about the alleged abuse that she witnessed because Diddy and Harv Pierre, a former president of Bad Boys Records, told her not to. When asked what made her speak, she basically said Cassie. She finally saw that Cassie was speaking out, so she was finally ready to use her voice to basically back Cassie up. And I guess she pointed at her during the trial. Okay. Dawn also testified that she often saw Diddy taking drugs, including weed, ketamine, and cocaine. She didn't see him take any opiates, which I think Cassie testified to that he did like to take opiates. Dawn testified that she heard Diddy discuss Cassie's career with her. During those conversations, Diddy would sometimes turn violent towards Cassie, but he usually said Ventura's career would progress on his timeline. Dawn also testified that she saw Cassie at different times with injuries on her face, arms, and legs after Diddy was violent towards Cassie. Cassie attempted to cover up the injuries with clothing, makeup, and sunglasses. She said even one time her, and I forget what the other lady's name is, but her and the other lady wore sunglasses after Diddy put hands on Cassie, basically in solidarity to support her in everything that she was going through. And so that was pretty much the end of Dawn's testimony. They, like I said, the defense tried to trip her up and like say, oh, well, your story has changed. Oh, they also brought up that, well, you filed your own lawsuit, right? Are you doing this for monetary gain? They also brought up, oh, well, you also tried to work with Diddy again, didn't you? Like basically you're not getting what you want, Dawn. That's why you're testifying against him in this lawsuit, or that's why you're testifying against him, because you're not getting a new deal with him. You're not making money off of him anymore. And she was basically like, no. When I reached out to him, I didn't want to work with him. The third member of our group wanted me to reach out. So I reached out on her behalf. So the defense, like I said, tried to trip her up, but she was able to, from what I could see, right? Because I'm not in the courtroom, from what I can see, she was able to handle it pretty well. So let's go on and jump on to the next witness. I'm thinking these ones are still in order. Carrie Morgan, which a lot of people had a lot of anticipation about what her testimony was going to be. Oh, y'all, I haven't even been marking. On YouTube, I like to mark in the background where I'm changing topics so that I can put timestamps for y'all. And I forgot to do it for like the last two people, I guess. Yeah. Tough. If you guys haven't already, please do hit the like button. It definitely helps us out, and we're trying to grow the channels. And I see that we got some people popping in. Y'all, I am giving a summary, but make sure y'all are giving y'all opinions as well, because I do want to jump into y'all chat and see what y'all thoughts are on the case. So I'm just going to say hi to people that have already commented. CE saying RICO evidence is what I want to see. No one disputes he abused her. Move on to RICO. Yes. And that's what I'm trying to do. But one thing that we have to realize is they keep going back to the abuse to Cassie. Like, although they're talking about the RICO charges, they go back to Cassie. Like every other witness. It's like, okay, we're trying to inch towards the RICO. We're trying to inch towards the violence, but a lot of the violence is tied to Cassie. I was having this discussion with my husband earlier of yes, it's abusive. We understand that he abused her. No one's saying that he didn't abuse her, but is it a criminal enterprise? Is the criminal enterprise's objective to abuse Cassie? That's my question, right? They talk about all of the drugs that he had, and we're going to get into it when we get into some of the assistant testimony. He had all of these drugs, right? But is he trafficking the drugs? Is he selling the drugs, or is he providing party favors? Like, are we going on a thin line of, okay, if we invite our friends to a party and we supply them with alcohol, though alcohol is legal, but let's say most parties, you're going to have alcohol there. Are we treading the line of now getting into trafficking alcohol illegal? Like, you know what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. But is he just supplying party favors, or is this a business? Is this an enterprise? Did he break some business rules by buying cocaine with his with his business money? Yes, but does it suffice to RICO? That's my question. And y'all gotta let me know. We're going through the notes. We're gonna get to the RICO stuff, but we gotta go back to the beginning. Okay. Hi, Autumn, the ADHD RD. Nice to see you. We got Rihanna Y saying hi, all. Hello and welcome back. We got Kayla Eloisa saying hi, hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into Carrie Morgan, the ex-best friend of Cassie, from 2001 to 2018. Morgan testified that she was best friends with Cassie for 17 years, but they currently don't speak because in 2018, Diddy assaulted her, okay? And then he gave her some money to be quiet, which is crazy. NDAs and money, hush money is basically what happened here. Morgan testified, or is her first name is Carrie. I'm just going to call her Morgan, okay? Because that's what I wrote it down as. Morgan testified that she saw Diddy get physically violent with Cassie on 2 occasions and that he assaulted her. She said Diddy sent her money and she signed a non-disclosure agreement. Morgan testified that Diddy was not intoxicated or high during these times. And I think that might be a problem for the prosecution because Cassie is saying that he was high at these times. So it's already some conflicting evidence coming out, right? But there's argument that Carrie doesn't know Diddy as much as Cassie knows Diddy because Diddy, and maybe he was like a functional person when he was on drugs, right? Okay. They're telling me they're restricting my live to people on on TikTok. Oh my gosh. I know I get like yellow lined on YouTube, but they're telling me I'm being restricted on TikTok probably because I'm saying all the bad buzzwords. Sorry, I'm not bleeping it out. This is it. This is what the case is about. Anyways, let's go on. Morgan testified that Cassie was very confident when she first met, but over the course of their friendship from early 2000s to 2018, she lost her confidence. Morgan heard Diddy criticize Cassie's appearance, how she behaved, and who she talked to. Morgan said she encouraged Cassie to speak with the police the day of the 2016 hotel altercation, which is the one that we've all seen, him dragging her through the hallway like a rag doll, like she said. She said that she never called law enforcement when Combs was violent to Cassie because Cassie didn't want her to, because guess what? Cassie was not ready to leave. So you can't really help someone that doesn't want to be helped. That was kind of the basis of Carrie's testimony. Carrie said that Cassie told her she couldn't leave Diddy because he controlled everything. Later, Carrie testified that Diddy controlled Ventura's or Cassie's job, her car, her apartment. He controlled everything. She would have lost her livelihood. She was essentially, Carrie is saying that Cassie was depending on Diddy for money. She was depending on him for some place to live. She was depending on him for her career, right? So I definitely see why she stopped being friends with her. First of all, he's beating on you, and now he's turning around and he's beating on me. And now I'm being offered money to basically be quiet, which it sounds like she did take the money, but then she basically moved on to protect herself. Because it doesn't sound like Cassie was ready to be protected. So let's go ahead and jump into finally getting more into walking that line of the RICO, getting into the actual crime. I mean, abusing people is a crime on a state level, but the crimes that Diddy is being charged with, we're going to walk that thin line with David James, who was a former assistant for Diddy. So let's go ahead and jump into it. James is the first of Diddy's former assistants to testify in the racketeering and sex trafficking trial. Y'all keep calling it that, but we are not really getting a lot of evidence on those accusations. Prosecutors have said that Combs ran a criminal racketeering enterprise in which he and some of his inner circle coerced women into participating in drug-fueled sex performances called freak-offs. James said he was with Combs every day he was working and traveled around the world with him. James testified Combs' security staffers often told him to stay in my lane. So basically, anytime he tried to speak up, they basically was like, stay in line or we're getting rid of you, okay? You can't be messing up the vibes. Not messing up the vibes, but you can't be messing up what the prosecution is calling the enterprise, the organization, right? James testified that Combs' security staffers often told him to stay in my lane. I just read that, especially when he was asking too many questions. James said he recalled a conversation he had with Cassie where she said to him, man, this lifestyle is crazy. He said he agreed and suggested she leave. He testified, I can't, this is what Cassie is saying, I can't get out. Cassie told James that Diddy had control over her music career, paid for her apartment, and gave her an allowance. And again, I think that's some contradictory testimony, because didn't she say she paid for her apartment? At least for a substantial amount of time, she was the one actually paying for her apartment. But I think she was getting the money from Diddy, like from RICO. But she was saying, no, it was her apartment. She was paying for it for a big part of the time. But I could be remembering wrong. Y'all correct me if I am wrong. Okay. Go on to say David James, the assistant to Diddy from 2007 to 2009, during the early part of Combs' relationship with Cassie, testified that he did not personally observe physical violence between the pair. James said he would stock and organize hotel rooms for Diddy. James testified he was tasked with buying personal items like condoms, baby oil, Astroglide. Why does he like Astroglide? I feel like y'all personally have never heard of Astroglide, but I feel like it's like an old school style lube. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Y'all know I'm a little bit on the younger side, but Astroglide sounds crazy to me. Or maybe I just can't afford it. I don't know. That sounds like that's something that came, like the first lube that came out ever. But anyways, he would buy baby oil, Astroglide for Combs, but was instructed not to submit these items for reimbursement through the company because they were items he didn't want to have a record for. So here we are, y'all. We are touting that line. We're kind of walking on that gray line of, okay, are we getting into enterprise? Essentially, he's buying personal items with his business. Yes, we understand that, but is baby oil and lube and condoms a racketeering enterprise? That's what we have to get into. Like, did he misappropriate business funds? Yes, but was it to further a criminal enterprise? We don't know yet, because like I said, they're just walking that gray line, right? Okay. James testified that he saw Diddy take drugs and give them to his friends on multiple occasions. James procured them for Combs and his friends. So he would go out and buy the drugs for him. Again, is this for personal use, or is this for the purposes of trafficking? Right? People are saying, or the whole premise is that he was giving people drugs unaware, right? The question about the baby oil, was it laced with these drugs that this is what these lawsuits that Tony Busby was filing. This baby oil had this specific drug in it. When this trial first, when this criminal charges first came to light, they were saying the baby oil had drugs in it. The baby oil, it's been proven that the baby oil has drugs in it. They have not proved that yet. I believe they asked it to one witness and they could not confirm that the baby oil had drugs in it. They just had Homeland Security talk about the fact that they tested money. We're going to get into that in a little bit. They tested money, they tested guns, they tested this, they tested that. And that all came back with cocaine and MD, whatever it is, the drugs, right? All of that came back. But we still haven't gotten any testimony that the baby oil had drugs in it. We still haven't got any testimony that the alcoholic beverages that they were serving at the parties had drugs in it and that people were consuming it unknowingly, and then he's forcing them to engage in these freak-offs unknowingly. All of it, to me, so far, sounds like prostitution, because everyone is being paid for their activity at this point. Everyone is engaged in illegal prostitution, is what it sounds like to me. But y'all, let me know if I'm off. Let me know if I'm off. Okay. Let's see, where was I at here? James testified that he saw Combs take drugs and give them to his friends, and that he would even pick it up for him. When one of Diddy's Cartier bracelets went missing, security searched through James' belongings, and on 2 other occasions, Combs' possessions went missing. The former assistant had to take a lie detector test, calling the whole experience very intimidating. Again, being a mean boss, yes. Conducting a criminal enterprise, I don't know. If my stuff goes missing, I'm probably gonna want to search your bag too if I'm your boss. I don't know what was the purpose of that testimony. I guess that he intimidates people, but yeah, like if you're stealing, I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of that testimony is. It never really tied together for me. And then we get into something that might, again, we're gonna walk that thin line of what could potentially be RICO, right? The first time James felt he was in danger as Diddy's assistant was when he went to Combs' security guard. When he went with Diddy and his security guards to a diner to get food for Diddy and the staff. Upon arrival, the pair ran into Diddy's rival, Marianne Suge Knight, and approached him. When James and the security guard returned back to Combs' house, the music mogul ordered James to drive him and the security guard back to the diner to look for Suge Knight, while Diddy sat in the back seat with 3 handguns in his lap. When the group got to the diner, Knight was gone. Shortly after the incident, James gave his notice. He said that he left the company in May 2009. Basically, he was scared. The defense tried to get him to admit that he was complicit in it. Like, yeah, you bought the drugs, but you didn't even tell Diddy that you were buying drugs. And he was like, yeah, well, I thought that was just part of my job because I always bring the drugs for him. Normally, he directs me to buy drugs. So why would I think this time is anything different? He also tried to question him and, well, why did you drive him to the restaurant? He was like, well, I didn't really think I had a choice because we have this man that's mad at Suge Knight with 3 guns in his lap. Or do I really have a choice to tell him no? Right? So all of that stuff came into play. So with his testimony, again, I feel like he walked the line of the RICO, the gun charges, right? His business, Diddy took his security guards that's there for him to protect him with being a rap star. He took his security guard and he took his assistant that he's paying to basically take care of all of his affairs, took them to basically go get in a shootout with Suge Knight is basically what's being accused here. But again, was that the purpose of his organization, of him being Diddy? Is that the purpose of him being Diddy, is to intimidate Suge Knight? I don't know. Is that the purpose of Bad Boy Records? I don't know. And then the thing about the procuring the drugs and giving the drugs to people. Again, they still haven't made that connection that he was giving it to people unknowingly, or that people were buying the drugs from him or anything of that nature. So I'm having a hard time making the tie to what is being accused here. And y'all let me know. Let me know if I am off. Let me know if you have made the tie to what's being accused here. So let me go ahead and check out some more comments, and then we'll go ahead and jump into the next witness, who we have as Gerard. I don't know how you say Gerard Gannon. He's another Homeland Security special agent that actually did the raid to the Miami house. Okay. The one that Diddy cried that they put his son, I don't know if that was LA or Miami, but cried and put his son in handcuffs. How dare they? They're in the way, okay? They are allowed to put your son in handcuffs. Okay. Frenzy One says, yes, she was scared. I don't know exactly which one you were talking about. I don't know if that was to Don or to Cassie. Tree Kitty 313 says, hello from PNW. Hello and welcome in. Thank you for covering this. No problem. I don't see a lot of people talking about it, so I am trying to keep up with it as much as I can while also trying to maintain my 9 to 5. Happy to have you here. We got Autumn, the ADHD RD says, I found some in my parents' room as a child and was like, what is this? Now I know. So that means I'm pretty sure it's probably like the first lube that ever came out. We were talking about the Astroglide for those of you that are coming in. They keep talking about Astroglide. They refer to it in the indictment and everything as lube, but now they're calling it Astroglide. And I'm like, I've never heard of that. I never heard of that. Is that the best of the best lube? Or is that just a super old brand that he was first introduced to? I wonder what the goodwill is behind Astroglide. Like, is that the best you can have? I don't know. Let's not go there. This is a serious matter. Okay, let's jump into the next witness, Gerard Gannon. I got it right that time. He's Homeland Security Investigation Special Agent in charge of the March 2024 raid of the Miami Beach home. I think I missed some of his testimony, or I think I accidentally deleted it when I was, or did I put it out of order? I might have messed something up, y'all, but bear with me here. Okay. The jury saw photos of sex toys and a pair of red high heel shoes that Gannon said were found in the master bedroom closet in that home. Again, are you saying that Diddy has a girlfriend, or are you saying that Diddy likes to wear high heels? Like, get to the point. Like, what are we accusing him of here? Okay. About 18 pairs of platform high heels. Why does he need 18 pairs of platform high heels? And when I'm thinking platform, I'm thinking like stripper shoes, not just like regular stilettos or high heels that you would wear out to dinner. And 3 cell phones were found in the closet. Yeah, I think I did miss some of my notes in this one. So I'm going to try to remember everything that was in there, but I probably won't. So they're finding high heels. They found guns. They found drugs. They found baby oil. They found lube. They put people in handcuffs, including, I think, like a security guard and the house manager or something. They put people in handcuffs. Let's keep going. They find high heels, and apparently 18 high heels are important to them for whatever reason. They also show other pictures to the jury, which include boxes filled with bottles of baby oil and personal lubricant, Astroglide. Now we know. Okay. 25 bottles of baby oil and 31 bottles of lubricant were found in the closet because he got to keep them stashed up. I don't know. Oh, I forgot about it. Who was he questioning? I forgot who was being questioned, because the same person that the defense asked this question to, or I think the defense asked, was the baby oil laced with any drugs? The person didn't know. I forgot who it was though. And then he asked, could all the baby oil be for filling up a pool with the baby oil? And it's like, while that could be a reason why he had so much baby oil, what are you doing filling up a pool with baby oil in your house, Diddy? I don't think that the defense is making the baby oil incident even better. Like, they're not making it better. Or was it the prosecution that asked that? I don't know. Somebody asked if the baby oil was to fill up a kiddie pool. I guess to have a baby oil wrestling fight in the middle of the living room. I don't know. But that was the crazy question that I forgot to talk about in the last live stream. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump on. He got 25 bottles in the closet, 31 bottles of lube, 31 bottles of lube on the wall, 31 bottles. Okay, let's get serious. Gannon, who was assigned to the ISI human trafficking group at the time of the search, testified about other items that he said were found in the closet, including upper and lower receivers of the AR-15s. The search was tied to human trafficking investigation because basically, like, if you're trafficking people, you might need weapons to kind of intimidate them. Again, we are touting on that line of, is this trafficking? Is this RICO? Is he furthering an enterprise? Or is he just doing bad stuff that don't really go with the charges? Like, could we bring illegal gun charges against him because the serial numbers were scraped off, which he testified to? That makes it hard to identify who the gun belongs to. Is he doing bad things? Yes. We know Diddy is doing bad things, but are we going to be able to tie it together to the charges that are actually being brought against him? He goes on to testify that they found drugs, a Gucci bag in a closet contained an assortment of pills, okay, love the wording, white powder, and crystal rock-like substances. Is it crack? I don't know. I don't know drugs like that. Don't quote me on that, okay? They tested positive for cocaine and ketamine. Okay, it's not crack. I mean, it could be crack cocaine. I don't know. Let's just assume he got the cocaine, okay? The Pierce stuff. Cocaine and ketamine, according to the stipulation, the defense agreed to say that's what was found. Traces of MDMA and alprazolam, I probably said that wrong, also was found. Gannon held up evidence bag filled with bullets recovered from the loaded 45 caliber gun found at what he called a guard shack. So basically, like, if you come up in here, we about to, okay, I'm getting too loose. I started off very calm. What was the word? That mellow. Yes, I started off this stream very mellow. Now Bree is out. Okay. Now Bree is out. Now Bree cannot take this serious. Now Bree needs to get it together because we are talking about a serious topic. But I have to laugh in order to make it not real. But it is real. It is real. It is scary. Has he done scary things? Absolutely. Absolutely. Diddy is doing scary things. Okay. Do I think that they're amounting to what's being charged? 9 days in, we still got what, another month and 2 weeks or so, a month and a half. I need them to start tying the stuff together now. I want to see more things tied together sooner rather than later, if that makes sense. And for me, I'm not getting it. I'm not, like, even the kid Cudi testimony that we're about to get into, it was very disappointing. What he got up there on that stand and said, we could have told you that. We could have told you those answers, sir. Okay. So yeah, they said they found a gun. The AR-15s were actually dismantled, but there were actual smaller guns that were loaded and things of that nature. So all of that stuff, defense tried to say, confirm that it wasn't even loaded, confirm that they weren't even put together. Well, sir, if they're all taken apart, I'm sure whoever's going to use them know how to put them back together. Again, still touting that gray line of whether this is crossing over into RICO, whether this is crossing over to trafficking, whether this is crossing over. We know the prostitution. I think for sure he's getting convicted on prostitution. I feel like there's no way he can get around the whole prostitution charge. Okay. But the other ones, I'm a little shaky on those. I am a little shaky on those, and I'm waiting for them to prove me wrong. I want them to prove me wrong because I think Diddy needs to go to jail. Maybe not for RICO, but he needs to go to jail for at least some time. Okay, at least some time. So let's go ahead and jump on over to the next witness, which is Sharay Hayes. I might be out of order. This is where I started getting a little woozy and putting my notes in random places that I thought were the right places. So this one might be a little bit out of order, but flow with me, y'all. Flow with me. So Sharay Hayes is a male escort. He is now 51. He testified that he met Diddy and Cassie sometime in 2012 when he was working as an exotic dancer. He first got a call from Cassie under a different name requesting his services and said when he arrived, Cassie told him her and her husband liked to create a sexy scene involving the application of baby oil. I can't take the baby oil serious. Like, I feel like he learned this back in the 90s and he never let it go. Because why are we using baby oil? I feel like he learned this back in the 90s. Because do people use baby oil still? I mean, like on your baby maybe, but I don't know. They have like different massage gels now. You don't have to use baby oil anymore. I can't take the baby oil seriously. Okay, let's go on. They like to create a sexy scene involving the application of baby oil and that her husband eventually would come out to watch. During the encounter, the husband gave subtle directions. Before the encounter, he was given $800 and afterwards he was given $1,200. He testified that he didn't know it was Combs when he first went. So he also testified that like Cassie was wearing a wig or something. So he didn't really recognize her. Eventually he recognized it was Diddy. And then he started to recognize Cassie from the pictures of them being together. So he was there to create a fantasy for Diddy. Weird. Yes. Sex trafficking. I don't know. Prostitution. Definitely. You're paying this man for sex. You're paying a man for sex. It's prostitution. But part of the charge was transportation for the purpose of prostitution. It doesn't sound like they transported him. It sounds like he came to them. Like he lives in the area nearby. So I don't even know if they meet that transportation element. I thought it would. I forgot. It's transportation for the purpose of prostitution, not just prostitution here. Okay, they might have a hard time. They definitely, I mean, I guess he's transporting Cassie to prostitute, I guess, if he's paying her. Because she said that she was making money from the freak offs. It was her second job, is what she said. So she's the one being transported. I'm gonna go with that's what they were going with instead of hiring the different people in different cities. Okay. Eventually, on another occasion, when he joined the couple at the hotel where there was a TV welcoming Diddy, Sean Combs, it was at the time that he realized who Cassie and Combs were, who Cassie and Diddy were. He testified that he joined the couple in similar interaction 8 to 12 times. So I kind of got ahead of myself. He read on a TV, and that's how he realized it was Diddy and Cassie. Okay. Under the cross-examination, the defense did a good job on this. Under cross-examination, Hayes said that he didn't get any cues that this was any discomfort with what was going on. From Cassie, saying as an exotic dancer, he always reads the room to gauge an audience comfortability. During his encounter with the pair, he never saw any filming or violence, which, remember, that is a big part of the allegations that are being made against him, is that he was secretly recording Cassie. He was using the recordings to blackmail her. He said that he didn't even take drugs. Remember, that was a thing, that Diddy is involuntarily giving people drugs. Cassie didn't seem uncomfortable. It seemed like she was participating in it, which is fine, because we all know that people that are under abuse, they're going to cooperate so that they don't get beat up a lot of the times, right? So just because she didn't seem uncomfortable doesn't necessarily mean that she wasn't uncomfortable. And it doesn't mean that she was doing it of her own free will, if that makes sense. But y'all let me know. And then he mentioned like he would hear her sigh and get like annoyed with certain requests that Diddy was making, because Diddy wasn't like in the mix. He was kind of like watching from afar. I imagine it. I don't want to imagine it, but I imagine he's watching from afar in a chair in a dark corner with a little light over him, like you see on the movies. That's what I picture. But it doesn't seem like he was really involved, but he was telling Cassie what to do. And he also testified about how she would kind of, what position she would go into to basically turn Diddy on. And she was looking at Diddy the entire time. Hayes was just there having fun, apparently. He testified that he never used drugs with Diddy or Cassie, although they did sometimes offer him alcohol and marijuana, but he never saw Diddy take drugs or appear to be intoxicated. Remember, that's a big thing that they're alleging against him. Hayes did take medications to help his performer. Describing discomfort of the sexual scenario with the woman's partner present, Hayes' last session with Ventura and Combs was in 2016 when he failed to perform and was never called back. That sucks. I missed that part of the testimony. He was like, I couldn't get the job done and I never got a call back. Before leaving, Hayes testified that Ventura paid him and thanked him for his discretion with their interactions, basically not going around and telling a bunch of people that they were actually engaging in this kind of behavior. At some point, I forgot whose testimony it was, but it came up that they were concerned that that show Gigolos was being recorded, and that they were concerned that the people that they were using their services for would expose them on the show, and luckily they never did. And the defense also tried to catch him on, oh, well, you were in love with Cassie. He was like, no, I wasn't in love with her. He said that the defense cited like some interview with the prosecution of him saying that he started to have feelings for her. And he said they misinterpreted what he was saying, that he didn't have feelings for her. He didn't even consider them to be actual friends. So the defense is trying, okay? The defense is trying to trip people up, but I think people are kind of blocking those trip ups pretty well, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and jump into this comment here, and then we'll jump into the next witness, which is Don Hughs, the psychologist that testified for Amber Heard, right? Why are we trusting her? Anyways, let's go. Let's go on. Autumn says, I don't think we use it on babies anymore. At least I never used it on mine. I don't know. I don't know why he's using so much baby oil. He's probably keeping the business running, because I don't really see anybody. Oh my gosh. But there's always baby oil in the hotel. We're going to talk about a different hotel person that testified today, talking about he leaves too much baby oil, or he leaves too much oil on the sheets or something. We need to do a deep clean after he leaves, because he's just oily in there. That's gross. That's pretty nasty. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into Don Hughs, who is a psychologist that testified. She's a board-certified clinical and forensic psychologist. Testified she has not assessed any victims or witnesses in this case, nor has she interviewed anyone connected to the case. Hughs says she's testifying as a blind expert who provides the jury with some information about DV, R wording, SA, and traumatic stress. Hughs testified that it's very common for victims to stay in abusive relationships and that perpetrators often use various abusive methods beyond just physical violence to make the victims feel trapped. SA is a very private harm, which can make it difficult for a victim to seek help to leave an abusive relationship. They experience a tremendous amount of shame, humiliation, degradation. I don't think I've ever seen that word, to degrade someone. Degradation? I didn't know that was a word. Hughes said it's common for victims to use substances to numb themselves. And as we know, Cassie was using all kinds of substances with Diddy, but apparently either Diddy wasn't really doing the drugs, he just made it seem like he was doing the drugs, or he was so used to the drugs that people around him that didn't know him couldn't tell that he was actually on drugs. I don't think Sharay Hughes, or not Hughes, god dang, what was his last name? The guy we were just talking about, the escort. I don't think they really asked him any questions whether he thought that Cassie was under the influence other than marijuana and alcohol, like hardcore drugs. I don't think they ever asked him that. They did ask about Diddy. So that was strange to me. So what she's basically here to do, what Don Hughs, the psychologist, is basically here to do is kind of put into the jury's head of like, yes, Cassie consented to this stuff sometimes. Yes, Cassie participated sometimes. Yes, Cassie was loving to Diddy sometimes. Yes, she still loved him. She testified that she even still loves him. But that doesn't necessarily mean that she was not being abused. It was basically a coping mechanism and she wasn't ready to get out. So she is trying to basically establish that for the jury without actually saying, this is what Cassie went through. This is domestic violence and abuse in general, right? This is in general. And they want the jury to make that leap that this is how victims act. That's exactly how Cassie was acting, because Diddy is trying to put out there like, no, she wasn't abused. She's enjoyed it. She's having a great time. Like, no. And that's what the psychologist is doing. Like, no, she's not enjoying it. She's just coping. Okay. She goes on to testify abusive relationships often have love and kindness in them. In addition to the abuse, a trauma bond can make a victim unwilling to leave a relationship. Like we heard Dawn testify and Carrie testify that Cassie wasn't ready to leave. We couldn't help her because she was not ready to leave. It often takes multiple attempts for victims to leave abusive relationship. The psychologist explained that the resources are necessary for a victim to leave. Resources are necessary for a victim to leave the relationship, and when an abuser controls their general living expenses, it's hard for a victim to see the way out. So if you don't have money, you're not going to be willing to leave because guess what? You're probably going to go back to them to get money because you're unable to live on your own. She goes on to testify, it's uncommon for victims to talk about the abuse around the time it occurs. Many victims often wait months, even years before telling about what happened to them. Abuse victims often use minimizing and hedging language when disclosing the abuse. Hughs said the victims tend not to recall each specific time they were abused. So essentially they'll say, oh, I don't remember what the date was, but I know I was punched a bunch of times. I know I was slapped a bunch of times. I know I was thrown down the stairs a bunch of times. I just don't recall whether it all happened in one incident or if it was maybe I got hit and kicked in this one and then pushed in that one, different things. Like they're not able to recall everything all together because they're kind of compartmental. I want to use a word and I can't say it right now. Compartmentalizing, y'all know, separating things. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Okay. So Hughs is an experienced expert witness, having testified in cases including the 2022 defamation trial of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, and in the criminal trials of Nixium, is that how you say that? I think so. Keith Raniere. Oh, I didn't know she testified in that one. Singer R. Kelly. She's being paid $600 an hour for her work and $6,000 for the day of testimony in court. The judge previously ruled that Hughs was not able to testify about certain topics, including the idea of coercive control, which is likely what Cassie was experiencing, nor could she speak to the credibility of the accuser in this case, because she did not evaluate Cassie, right? So she can't speak to it. She testified that she didn't observe any documentation that told her any details of the case. Whatever she did review was TikTok trying to cut me off. They always trying to make me do something. They said I've been on live too much. Sorry, y'all. Sorry, YouTube. I'm trying to put my puzzle piece. Whatever. Kick me off then. Because y'all, I can't see the puzzle piece through my stupid nails anyway. Shoot. Okay. Sorry, y'all. This is weird. Okay. I got the puzzle piece in the spot. They tried to kick me off live. What the heck? TikTok is so aggressive. Okay, anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, she can't testify to the credibility of Cassie because she didn't actually interview her. She clarified that she didn't review anything that would bias her opinion towards either person in the case. The defense attorney, John Batch, characterized Hughs as a biased professional witness and asked Hughs about a training she gave to victim advocates who may need to testify in court. Hughes said she believes the group she was speaking to received a grant from the Department of Justice under the Violence Against Women Act. When Batch asked if she had ever testified in the defense of a man accused of a sex crime, she confirmed, saying, "I don't evaluate offenders." And that's not her expertise, okay? I don't know why the defense asked that. That's stupid. He also asked Hughs about 6 meetings she had with the prosecutors concerning her testimony, some of which has been since the trial has started. Hughs and the prosecution have maintained that the prosecutors have not disclosed specifics of the case with her. I believe she also testified that she's seen some things in the media, but she hasn't been keeping up with it. The assistant U.S. attorney, Mitzi Steiner, confirmed that Hughs has been retained as an expert witness by one of Cone's defense attorneys in the case, Brian Still, the one that did the Young Thug trial. Batch said she'd worked with Still, but didn't testify as a witness in the case. So basically, Diddy's attorneys are like, well, she's biased. Y'all shouldn't believe her. And they're like, oh, well, if she's so biased, then why is that guy you're working with also hired her before? Yeah, okay. She is a trustworthy witness. So they were basically trying to go for her credibility. And the prosecution was like, no. Y'all hired her before too. Okay. Y'all worked with her before too. So just because it's not convenient for the person you're representing doesn't mean that she's not a good witness. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the next witness, which is Cassie's mom. I didn't really give y'all a preview of who we were going to listen to or who we're going to talk about today. TikTok, I'm probably going to lose it in a little bit because my phone is dying like crazy over there. But, you know, TikTok or YouTube, we're going to keep going strong because this is what we do. Okay, so Regina Ventura is Cassie Ventura's mommy, okay? And she's going to testify on behalf of her daughter. Regina Ventura said she first met Diddy in 2006 when her daughter signed with Diddy's record label, Bad Boy Records. When the pair started dating in New York City, she'd see her daughter about 3 or 4 times a year. When Cassie Ventura moved to California with Diddy, those visits decreased, seeing her usually around the holidays, which could still be 3 or 4 times a year, depending on what holidays you're talking about. But whatever, we're not going to get into that. Regina Ventura testified that her daughter emailed her and another one of Diddy's employers under an alias name to say Diddy was threatening to release explicit sex tapes of her. I did not understand a lot of it, Regina said. The sex tapes threw me. I did not know the other person, but knew that he was going to try to hurt my daughter. So she had to learn that there's sex tapes out there about her daughter. That sucks. Around the same time, her daughter reached out about the sex tapes or the sex tape threat. Diddy reached out to Regina asking for $20,000 to recoup money he had spent on Cassie Ventura. Regina Ventura testified. Diddy was angry at her daughter. Diddy was angry that her daughter was now in a relationship with Kid Cudi. The only way Regina Ventura and her husband could get the money was to take out a home equity loan. And she wired the money to Bad Boy account. 5 days later, the money was returned to her. So now he is allegedly harassing her mom in order to get back at Cassie. So again, the enterprise, remember, we're talking about RICO, we're talking about sex trafficking, we're talking about prostitution. All of this, like, is the goal of the enterprise to control Cassie? Is that the goal of the enterprise? That's what it sounds like. Because every time we get to some stuff that could be extortion, like giving the money to the mom to give money to him, and then they send it right back. Is it still extortion? Yes. But it's all goes back to Cassie. When do we get into the trafficking? I guess he transported Cassie for the purpose of the freak offs, or were they there and freak offs was just a side mission? I don't know. Y'all. I feel like the more I reread this stuff, I get more confused. So let's go on to the last part. The jury saw photos of Regina Ventura took of her daughter in December 2011 at her Connecticut home after Combs physically allegedly assaulted her in an effort to keep evidence. Regina Ventura basically took pictures. She was bruised, and I wanted to make sure that we memorialized it. And again, her having bruises on her technically does not prove that Diddy did him. She could testify that Diddy said he did it, but it would have to be Cassie confirming, like, oh yeah, I got those bruises from when he attacked me and I went to see my mom. So I'm surprised that she's the one that got to, I guess she took the picture, so she was the one that got to introduce the evidence, but she can't necessarily say that he was the one causing those bruises if she wasn't actually there to witness the abuse. So that's interesting of how they got that in. Okay. I think this is where I screwed up, because here's George Kaplan again. And didn't we already talk about him? I think we did. Okay. No, that's Gerald Gannon. Oh, no, we didn't. Okay. I thought I screwed up there, but no, I didn't. Yeah. We might be all out of order at this point, but at least I didn't screw that stuff up. Whew. Dang, YouTube is quiet today. No thoughts, no comments, y'all. Okay, that's okay. That is okay. Let's go ahead and jump into George Kaplan. He was a former executive assistant to Combs, just like David James was. He invoked his Fifth Amendment right to testify earlier today on the grounds of potential self-incrimination, but the judge indicated that he was going to sign an immunity order and will require Kaplan to testify. I forgot to also say for David James, I believe he also got an immunity offer earlier. I was like, oh, I'm gonna say this when I'm done with his stuff, and then I completely forgot to say it. But the way that David answered it, he was like, I don't know what my lawyer negotiated, but I think I'm immune. So he didn't come out right and say like, yeah, I'm immune. F you, bro. But this guy, he did get immunity before he testified. Kaplan testified that he worked 80 to 100 hours, once working from morning until 7 a.m. the next day, so morning to morning. He said that he was paid about $125,000 and communicated with Diddy a daily, exchanging texts, calls, and emails multiple times a day about things he needed, which could include clothing or potentially food from somewhere, or drugs or liquor or an iPad or a speaker. Interesting way to testify. Kaplan testified that Combs threatened his job almost monthly, once getting in his face for not getting the right thing from the store, which was like 2 BPA or a BPA gallon-sized water bottle. He came back with 2 half-size gallon BPA free because they didn't have any in the gallon size, and he got yelled at for bringing that back, which seems kind of petty. When Combs traveled to various destinations such as New York, Miami, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., or Orlando, Kaplan would either fly with Combs on a private jet with him or fly in advance on a commercial flight to set up Combs' hotel room. Kaplan said he was given a bag that had clothes, a speaker, candles, liquor, baby oil, of course, y'all. And you know they got the lubricant, which we all know is Astroglide at this point in it. Therefore, he brought the same items on his corporate card to prepare for Combs' room. Again, is he misappropriating business fund to be freaky neaky? Probably. Does it amount to the charges that are being brought against him? I don't know. I'm not quite there yet. But y'all let me know. Okay, so he basically was doing the same thing that David James was doing. They was basically preparing his freak offs, his freaky time. Okay, I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but here we are. Now we're in me talking about that. Okay, let's go. Kaplan said he came to understand part of his role was protecting Combs' image. Kaplan's understanding was that Diddy would have guests or a female partner join him in the hotel room. After Combs left the hotel room, Kaplan would enter and pack up Combs' belongings and tidy up the place. Typically, there'd be sports drink bottles, liquor bottles, and baby oil strewn around the room. Hotel room. After Combs left, the baby oil is killing me, y'all. I can't with the baby oil. On one occasion, he cleaned up a brown crystallized powder off the countertop. He could not confirm what this powder was. So why did we get this testimony? I don't know. We keep getting stuff. We're trying to get to the RICO, but they're not tying it together. There was brown crystallized stuff, but I don't know what it was. Okay, it could be brown sugar. Why are you telling us this? We know it's probably drugs, but come on. That's why I feel like some of the stuff that they're putting out there is just to embarrass him because they can't really tie it to anything. Which, I mean, I don't really mind embarrassing Diddy, but that's not what federal court is for, okay? Kaplan testified that he picked up drugs for Combs with cash he gave him, once in Miami and once in Los Angeles. One time he picked up MDMA, and the other time he didn't know what substance it was. So you just doing whatever, okay? Kaplan infrequently carried cash for Combs, he testified, but recalls one time in 2015 when Combs' security staff asked him to hold $50,000 while they were on a private jet, and a couple of instances where he had to get $10,000 in cash from Western Union, but he wouldn't hold on to it. He said he would hand it to Combs after he picked it up. So we don't know what that money is being spent on. Okay, so we don't know if it's in furtherance of this RICO organization that Diddy is being accused of. Okay. Kaplan testified about 3 instances where he witnessed violence from Combs, twice with Cassie in 2015, on Diddy's private jet, though he doesn't recall seeing any injuries on her, and another incident later that year where he saw Cassie with visible injuries at one of Combs' home. Kaplan testified to witnessing a third round of violent behavior where he saw Combs throw a number of decorative or green apples at another girlfriend. You throwing apples at people? You hitting people with skillets? What is wrong with you? Allegedly. These are the things he's been accused of. He threw fake green apples at somebody and tried to hit Cassie with a skillet over some eggs. Okay. Unsure if any of them actually hit the woman. We don't know if the skillet hit Cassie at this point. So welcome to our life, David, or Kaplan. I forgot what his first name is. Kaplan took special care to clean up hotel room. Kaplan took special care to clean up hotel room after Combs left them because he was concerned hotel staff would try to sell content from his room and that could hurt Diddy's reputation. Kaplan gave notice that he was leaving in September 2015 and finally left in December. He testified after the incident he witnessed. The central reason that I left my job as Combs' assistant was I was I was not comfortable or aligned with the physical behavior that had been going on that I've seen pieces of over the course of months. So all the abuse that was happening with Cassie, maybe with other people, the green apples being thrown at another woman. It was a lot. He said, what am I trying to say? Kaplan said he told Combs he left because his dad was sick and Combs was extremely gracious. Kaplan stayed in touch with Diddy because he liked Diddy and wanted to continue having a relationship with him, adding working with Diddy was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, even though his moral compass pushed him to quit. Under the cross-examination, Kaplan said that Diddy made his world so much bigger in such a short period of time, remembering business lessons Diddy imparted on him. So he basically still appreciated the opportunity, but was like, sir, you're crazy, and I cannot do this anymore. Okay? So now we get into the highly anticipated witness, Scott Mescudi. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Mescudi, maybe? Who's also known as Kid Cudi, okay? The guy that has been going around saying, or maybe he's not going around, people are going around saying that Diddy blew his car up. So we finally get the details on whether Diddy blew this man's car up. And y'all, we're getting close to the end. So again, if you haven't hit the like button, please do. It definitely helps out the channel. We're going to go ahead and talk about Kid Cudi's portion of this. Make sure y'all are commenting so that I can respond to your comments. And then we're going to get to like those quicker witnesses and then we'll almost be done with the live stream. So make sure you guys are dropping your comments, hitting the like button. TikTok is probably about to cut off because my battery is dying. I might let it just die or I might turn it off before. So if you guys want to continue to watch, come over and check us out on YouTube live on Boss Attorney Bree is the channel name. So let's talk about Kid Cudi, okay? So Kid Cudi said he and Cassie met in 2008 and were friends until they started dating around 2011. Kid Cudi understood that Cassie and Diddy had some problems and they weren't dating anymore. But Diddy learned that Kid Cudi and Cassie began dating. Diddy told Kid Cudi by phone in December 2011 that he wanted to talk to him. He left the hotel he was at with Cassie and went home. He said, "Why did you go home?" I'm sorry, y'all. I don't remember what the testimony of that was because I didn't really catch up on today. I just kind of grabbed this real quick. Anyways, directly following the phone call, Kid Cudi returned home. Oh, that's why. They're going to tell me, Bree. Keep reading, okay? Directly following the phone call, Kid Cudi returned home, but Diddy wasn't there. Instead, he found his security cameras had been moved, gifts he bought his family were open, and his dog was locked in the bathroom. After the break-in, Kid Cudi spent the holidays with Cassie's family and received a few texts from Combs, but the rapper was not interested in talking to him, citing that he believed that Diddy was responsible for the break-in. He testified, noting that he filed a police report about it. So he filed a police report because he thought Diddy did it, but he doesn't know Diddy did it. He's just assuming that Diddy did it. And the defense does a good job in saying, but you don't know it was Diddy, right? It's like, no, you can have other enemies. You're a rapper, right? Yeah, maybe. They're not tying it together. So we don't even, like I said, what he testifies to, any of us could have got up there and testified to this. We think Diddy did it. Kid Cudi thinks Diddy did it. We don't know if Diddy did it. Did he probably do it? So much Diddy do it. Did he do it? Did he did it? Did Diddy do it? Not the alliterations, okay? Okay. So let's go on. He thinks Diddy did it. One morning in January 2012, Kid Cudi said his dog watcher called him from his home to tell him that his car was on fire. Looking at photos, Kid Cudi explained that it looked like the top of my Porsche was cut open, and that's where Molotov cocktail was put in, causing further damages that couldn't be salvaged. Cutting somebody's top off is crazy work. He goes on to say when Kid Cudi arrived to his meeting with Combs, so basically Diddy asked to meet him in person after this. When he arrived to his meeting with Diddy, who was alone, Cudi testified that Diddy was standing there staring out the window with his hand behind his back like a Marvel supervillain, and the pair went on to discuss Kid Cudi's relationship with Cassie from start to finish. When Kid Cudi asked Combs about the damage to his car, Diddy denied involvement. So we don't even have testimony about an admission, a statement made against your own interest from Diddy. Okay, so Diddy denied that he set the man's car on fire. So everybody going around saying that Diddy set the car on fire, we still don't have any evidence that Diddy was the one that actually set the car on fire. All of this, and we still don't have the evidence that he did it. Did he do it? Probably. Do we think he did it? Yes, we do think it. Do we have any evidence that he did it? No. No, we don't. We don't have that. Kid Cudi said, let me see. The pair ran into each other in 2015 at the club, and Diddy pulled Kid Cudi aside to apologize. Kid Cudi testified, adding that he found peace with the situation after Combs apologized to him. He still didn't admit that he blew his car up, though. Kid Cudi described feeling played and upset, learning that Cassie ultimately went back to Diddy after you put this man through all of that. And Kid Cudi testified that Cassie told him there was physical abuse in the relationship with Diddy, and he would hit and sometimes kick her, which bothered Kid Cudi. He said, but Ventura hadn't told him about any sexual abuse. So Cassie opened up to him about the physical abuse, but she didn't really say, oh, well, he also sexually abused me. And it could be that she didn't know that he was sexually abusing her at that time. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the YouTube comments on where we have gotten to so far. And then we'll finish up with the witnesses that went on today. They were all very short, but we do talk about some of the messy hotel that Diddy left behind. So let me see where we were at. Let me see. Autumn says, I'm drifting to sleep. That's okay. Thanks for joining anyways. Dang, am I boring? No. Oh man. Talon says, I'm working and listening, also laughing every time you say baby oil and Astroglide. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. The problem, yeah, that part is killing me. I can't be serious about that part. That's the comedy element of Diddy's trial, Astroglide and baby oil. Rihanna Wise says, I'm here and listening while working. Love that. Thank you for the support. Anna says, don't waste food. Wait. What were we talking about? Food? I forgot. Adam says they might have sold used baby oil bottles. That's nasty. I hope not. Rachel Mill says the government. If they would have found the baby oil in the room, the staff would have sold the baby oil, saying this is Diddy's baby oil. But then if they did that, we wouldn't all be surprised of why he had 1,000 bottles of baby oil in his house, because we would have knew he always brought baby oil with him. Used bottles of baby oil is crazy. Rachel Mills says the government put it in there, the baby oil. Deanna says Diddy was there. As far as the Kid Cudi situation, yes, that one he said he wanted to talk to him and then he went home, but there was not really any evidence that Diddy was actually went to his home. Like, can we presume that's what happened? Absolutely, but we don't really have any hardcore evidence of that. Deanna says the assistant called him to tell him that Diddy was at the house, so that's why he went home. I thought it was Diddy that called him to say he wanted to talk to him. They have the assistant come and testify that Diddy is the one that did it. Because Kid Cudi is testifying that he thinks Diddy did it. Tree Kitty says, still here. Just have you in my ear while I get ready for work. This is a great conversation. Have heard much more from you than anywhere else. Karen Reed is going on right now. So a lot of the lawyers are covering Karen Reed. I don't see a lot of people covering this case that normally cover trials, which are normally the lawyers here on YouTube. Deanna says it's a different assistant. She hasn't testified yet. Oh, so if she's on the list, then that could tie everything together. That's what I said. Just tie it together for me. Tie it together for me. Okay. All of this stuff is new information other than what we have previously read on the channel. So I don't have the witness list. I don't even know the people on the witness list. I'm live and blind reacting to all this stuff. Okay. So thank you. I hope I'm saying it. Is it Deanna or Deanna? Thank you for the information. Okay. Let's jump into these last few witnesses that kind of tie some things together, but not really. Let me go ahead and start from the bottom, actually, because that's the order that they testified in. I think this is the last one. Yeah. Okay. So we have Mylah Moreles, a former makeup artist for Diddy and Cassie, testified. Moreles says she worked for Combs from 2000 to 2005 and stopped working for him because she moved on to other celebrity clients. We didn't need you anymore, Diddy. Okay. Moreles first met Ventura on a photo shoot, or Cassie on a photo shoot in New York when she was 16. She testified and started doing her makeup. She started doing her makeup regularly when Cassie signed with Bad Boy in 2007, saying that Cassie was like a younger sister to her. The last time she did her makeup was in 2021. After a party at Prince's house, Cassie and Moreles went back to a hotel room around Grammy weekend in 2010. Diddy made his way to the room where Cassie was, closed the door behind him, and yelling and screaming ensued. Diddy stormed out. Cassie was distraught with a swollen eye, a busted lip, and knots on her head. So we can kind of draw the assumption that Diddy beat her up in the room, because I'm assuming when she went in the room, she didn't have all those injuries. And when she came out of the room after Diddy came, she all of a sudden had all of these injuries while we hear yelling and screaming. And maybe she heard thumping, but that wasn't really clarified. Let's see, the makeup artist Moreles took Cassie to her home where she stayed for a few days. And she said that, the way that she stayed for a couple of days, Moreles didn't call the police because she feared Diddy and for her life. Moreles had a doctor friend look at Cassie, who suggested she go to an emergency room for her injuries, but Cassie refused. The pair never spoke of the incident again. So again, another friend trying to help Cassie, and she's not ready to be helped. Moreles has done Moreles has done around 8 media interviews about her knowledge of Cassie and Diddy's relationship and the 2010 abuse incident in the past year. She confirmed on cross-examination. So she admitted that she'd been out here doing she's been out there doing interviews. She said she wasn't paid for any of the public interviews and hadn't talked to anyone about the incident in 2010 before her first media interview in May 2024. So again, she probably decided to start speaking out, basically to stand in solidarity with Cassie because Cassie finally came out with the information. Okay. And then we had Frederick Zamore, a general manager at I don't know how to say this, Le Mitrage Beverly Hills Hotel. I don't know how to say it. The jury was shown hotel records for a profile that was initially created under the name Sean Combs in December 2006 and later changed to Jackie Star in 2009. Before it changed multiple times thereafter in 2011 and through 2012. He said that's what he testified to. And in 2019, the name changed to Ryan Lopez. So essentially, Diddy was allegedly renting out hotel rooms while still collecting his star points. Okay, I'm assuming that's why he kept the same account. He was still collecting his points, but putting the account under different names because guess what the notes from this hotel had about Diddy? Please monitor outside his room / down the hall to spray air freshener. Diddy, you stink? Like, why are we spraying air freshener? Why is that one of the notes? I didn't really go deep into today's testimony. So if there's any testimony that y'all know why they had to spray the freshener, let me know. Let me know, please. Okay. Next, the note that they had on his account is always spills candle wax on everything and uses excessive amounts of oil. So what was that guy's name? He wasn't cleaning up good because this hotel is upset, okay? He uses excessive amount of oil, which we all know is baby oil. We're going to assume that is baby oil. Okay. Place the room out of order upon departure for deep cleaning. Why do y'all keep letting him rent? Because he probably paying a lot of money. He got to be paying a lot of money because he's not only spilling candle wax. He's not only leaving baby oil all over the place and his assistant's not cleaning it up good. But they have to shut the room down after he leaves because they got to do a deep cleaning every time Sean Diddy Combs step foot in this place. He messes up the room. That's so embarrassing. And then the last note that they have on there is authorize an extra $1,000 when this guest stays with us to cover any room damages. Because what are you doing? Bopping people up against the wall and leaving holes, Diddy? Like, come on. The room has to be out of order when Diddy's done. That's bad. That's really bad. And we know it's him. We can assume it's him because we know he used a lot of oil and we know it's baby oil. Both of the assistants says every time they packed his bag, they had to bring the baby oils. The Homeland Security lady, she said in the hotel, she found a bunch of bottles of baby oil in the closet. My guy's using so much baby oil. Okay. And then the last person that testified today was Joseph Croft. He is a computer forensic agent with the Homeland Security investigation. He testified that he extracted data from 3 of Cassie's laptops. One had been set to factory default setting, another to log in screen for her user profile under Frank Black, and a third laptop with dents and bends which couldn't power on. So he was basically pulling the forensic evidence off of the laptops. And he said that he didn't really do a thorough pull of the laptops because there was, of course, damage to some of them. And I just don't know if he just never got through to reviewing it. I don't know. I haven't looked into their testimony yet. So the jury is going to come back after the break on Tuesday. I'm surprised that my phone lasted this long for TikTok. We're still going. They tried to kick me out when I couldn't get the puzzle together, but we're still there. Thank you for everyone that has stayed on YouTube. I'm losing my voice. Am I yelling? Y'all, I have 46 pages previously, and we already got people already falling asleep. We were going to be here all night if I tried to do them 46 pages, okay? I don't even remember how I said it the first time. But thank you. I'll try to remember. Now I don't want to say it either way because I don't want it to be wrong. Rihanna Wise says, maybe the mass The smell of burning plants. Maybe that's what that came to mind too. Plants came to mind. Drug smell came to mind. Sex smell came to mind. But monitor his room and spray air freshener is crazy work. But maybe it's the plants. But why are you smoking in the hotel room? Man, Jennifer Ward said it stank. It had to stink. It had to, because what is going on? They spray an air freshener every time you come? Come on now. Jennifer Ward says, I need Dave Chappelle in the chat. Like, we need something. We need more information. I just haven't been able to look at today's testimony deeply like I did the other testimony, staying up to 2:00 in the morning last night, because I was at work today and I can't be reading up on Diddy's trial while I'm at work. And I made my iPad read all the other stuff to me. So anyway, while I was driving to work, okay, 9 to 5 girly here, still trying to get the content out. I'm glad that this didn't go too long. We were able to get through all the important parts of the testimony. Thank y'all for battling through this with me, okay? Because I know I was struggling to read some stuff because my notes are a little bit all over the place, but y'all gotta let me know what y'all think, okay? Do we want to still keep covering this? We still got probably 6 more weeks of this trial. Things are not being tied together yet, but like Deanna, I feel like I'm scared to say it now because I don't know if I'm gonna mess it up. But like she said, the assistant is possibly going to testify, so we're possibly going to get more information that Diddy was the one there doing it. The question I still have, the question that's still posing for me, and I know they're getting to it, but are they going to get to the point where they're boring the jury so much that they just stop paying attention? Because that can happen. That can happen. The jury can stop paying attention. Why do I have to use all of these context clues to put things together? Like, why are we not tying things together in testimony? Like the brown crystallized substance. Oh, but I don't know what it was. So it could have been brown sugar, right? If I was the defense attorney, that's what I would ask. It could have been brown sugar for all you know, right? Yeah, I guess, but he doesn't use brown sugar. I don't know. Any testimony could have came out, but I feel like they're not tying stuff together. I think if we have some more witnesses, like, yeah, they can tie it together, but is the jury going to remember? They're about to go and turn up over Memorial Weekend. You think they're going to remember what Kid Cudi says, and then next week or whenever the assistant comes to testify, they remember what she says to tie it all together? Of course, the prosecution is going to have to do it all at the end of the trial. But again, is the jury going to get bored? What we talked about last time. There's 8 men on the jury, okay? There's 8 men on the jury. 4 women on the jury. Not saying that men are bad, but we might have some freak meeks. We gotta have some freak meeks on the jury and say Diddy was living the life I wanted to live. Okay, he was doing the things I wanted to do, and I don't think that if someone else does this, they should be accused of trafficking people. If people want to party in a hotel room, they should be able to party in a hotel room. We all have our opinions watching from afar. But the people that matter, their opinions that matter, are the jury. And there's 8 men on the jury. Okay? And and it has to be a unanimous decision on all of these charges, unanimous decision. And we might have 1 or 2 that say, hey, that's the party I would love to go to. They keep saying, oh, he found high heels, you found baby oil, he found lubricant. He had a girl everywhere he went. Prostitution? Probably. He's probably going to get caught on the prostitution somehow. I don't know if we get to this. I guess because if you put the force, fraud, coercion, there's some contradictory. Again, criminal is beyond a reasonable doubt. 99% that this happened, but you have some testimony that's conflicting with Cassie already as to whether Diddy was even on drugs. And she's saying he was on drugs when he did these things to me. Or maybe she was on so much drugs that she doesn't know if he was on drugs, and that might make her an unreliable witness, right? Especially because these people that are saying that they were sober at the time are saying that, no, he was not on drugs. So that is putting reasonable doubt into the jury's mind. And the fact that the prosecution is taking so long to show me what the RICO is, right? The direction that he gave, drive me back to the diner. Is that enough for furtherance of his criminal enterprise? I don't know. Jennifer Ward says, Kid Cudi is my new hero. Really? Why? I he told us everything that we could have said. Like, we think Diddy did it. But also, I didn't go all the way into the testimony, so you might know a little bit more than me. Okay, I'm saying it right, Deanna. That is right? Okay, thanks. Okay, Jennifer Ward says, don't think so. The feds don't play. As far as which one? I'll be running my mouth. Y'all got to give me context. You got to give me context when you leave a comment, because I run my mouth and then I forget what I said. Okay, y'all, that is all I have for today. I'm still waiting for more evidence to get more information on whether I am on the prosecution side. I am a lawyer, so I'm looking at it from a lawyer's lens. And would I think that I would need to provide more testimony to basically contradict what the prosecution is saying? I would say no. I feel like the defense is throwing in enough little sprinkles to put the reasonable doubt for these particular crimes. I do think Diddy is bad. I think he needs to go to jail for something. I just don't know if the prosecution is going to meet their burden on these particular crimes. Like I said, prostitution, I think they kind of have that one in the bag. But the sex trafficking, there's already contradicting statements regarding that. And the RICO, what is the goal of the organization, right? When we're talking about Young Thug, they were using Young Slime, what is it? Young Slime Life, whatever they call it, and washing money through that, doing hits and things of that nature. And they still didn't go to jail, okay? They still didn't go to jail. And they had a lot of evidence of what they were considering the RICO to be. Their indictment lined it out of what they're considering the RICO to be. I think there was like, 100 and something counts of what the RICO was. Diddy's was just like, RICO for these things, but we're not going to tell you what he did to make that part of RICO. How was him having guns RICO? How was him having drugs RICO? How was him engaging in the sex performances RICO? I think the prostitution qualifies on its own, but is it also RICO? Because his assistant set up the room, or is them bringing the baby oil and the lube enterprise, or is it providing party favors? Him having drugs, is he furthering his career by providing people drugs? Is he selling it? Or is he supplying the people with the things that they need to have fun? Again, a lot of it was that he's giving drugs to people unknowingly. I want that evidence. He gave me drugs and I didn't know it. Both of the escorts that have come and said we wasn't even doing drugs. I didn't even see them doing the drugs. They might have done it before I got there, but I didn't see it happening. So it's a little bit of water. Then it says it's only week 2 and we have 6 more weeks to go. I feel like they are laying the foundation for RICO. And that is what it appears for them to be doing. But I think the jury might get bored. I think it's focusing a lot on Cassie, which the things that happened to Cassie are horrible. But I think they're taking a long time. I know it's a long trial, but they're taking a long time to get to what the RICO is. A lot of it seems to have to do with the abuse of Cassie. Diddy allegedly blew up Kid Cudi's car because Kid Cudi was dating Cassie, right? Diddy asked Cassie's mom for money, extorted her for money, allegedly, because Cassie was dating Kid Cudi. Diddy beat Cassie up because Cassie wasn't listening to him. The only other thing that wasn't related to Cassie was the Suge Knight thing. But everything ties back to, is he an angry boyfriend or is he a criminal enterprise? And that's all the defense has to do to put a little water in it. And like I said, I know we want him to be guilty. I know we want him to go to jail. I want him to go to jail. But there's 8 men on the jury. And with that, I'm done with it. I'm not trying to be mean to men. I know a lot of men don't watch my channel, but there are 8 men on the jury. We got to remember that. We have to remember that. Now, some state charges filed against him. I think he would, it'll be a wrap. DV, all the things. It's a wrap. That's why he paid her $20 million. We know he did it, right? But I'm having a hard time reaching RICO. But like you said, we still got 6 weeks to go. It's too slow for me. But thank you everyone for joining me live. I will see y'all all on the next live stream, which will likely be next Thursday, hopefully. I try to stream more often, but it just never works out for me because being a 9-to-5 girly is hard, okay? But I will see y'all all on the next live stream. Thank you for joining me. Bye. Bye, TikTok.